Hey guys, we're going to be getting ready here in just a few minutes. I've been doing a whole bunch of things here in my office, and it has required me to reconfigure my mic and do a bunch of different things. So I haven't had a chance to beta test the actual sound. So if you guys that are tuning in right now, if you can let me know how the mic is, how is the audio on this, just give me some feedback. And then when we're ready to go here in just a few seconds, the audio will be great. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay, if the audio is all right. I can always adjust it or modify it. All right, today is an exciting day. I'm super excited. I'm operating on about, well, let's see, I went home at 4 a.m. last night. I was on a roll, and I'm going to share with you in just a few minutes what I have been working on, and I'm really excited about it. All right. Okay, let's see if I can find it on my end here. Okay, we've got a thumbs up. That's awesome. Okay, great. Audio was good. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that feedback. Okay, well, we are live. We are live. And yes, there is a big announcement that I want to share with all you guys. And we are going to devote today to all you live listeners. So I'm going to answer just your questions today. It's going to be a little bit abbreviated because I have got so much going on outside of this group and my practice. I'm heading to Ottawa tomorrow for National Immigration Executive Committee meetings with the government officers, where our executive committee for the Canadian Bar Association, I'm the secretary this year on the national section, and we have the opportunity to go and meet with the government officers and share our thoughts and give them feedback on the programs and learn from them. And just, it's a wonderful opportunity to collaborate and just to make immigration better all across the country. So we represent all of the members that are a part of our Canadian Bar Association's immigration section, and it's a wonderful time. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. So let me tune in, or just, I should say tune in. Post below where you're listening from. I always want to see where everybody's listening. We've got lots of good thumbs up here on the audio, which makes me happy. So where are you guys listening from? Let me know. We'll wait for a few more people here to connect in, and then I'll share what I have been working on, and I am really, really excited about it. So excited, in fact, that I worked yesterday from... It was about, let's see, what time? 1 o'clock in the afternoon until approximately 3:30 a.m. this morning here in my office. So I'm feeling pretty good for having very little sleep. All right. Let's see here. We'll just wait for a few more comments coming in. All right. So with all of this being said, guys, here's what I want to share with you guys. Oh, we've got Algeria. Very cool. We got someone from Algeria that's tuning in. And thanks for sharing that with me. It's interesting when you look at this whole, we got Colombo, Sri Lanka. Very cool, Sohan. It's really cool when I get a chance to sit here in my office in Lethbridge and literally connect with people all over the world who are looking for opportunities to immigrate to Canada. And when I decided to jump in and do this, one of the main pillars of why I wanted to do it was to have an influence on a massive scale. So to be able to actually help people in a way that I could never do one-to-one in my office. So because of that, this makes it all the worthwhile when I get a chance to connect with all of you guys all over the world. Okay, and I also want to say thank you to all of you amazing YouTube followers who are subscribing to the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. And that program, that little YouTube is awesome. Unlike lovely Facebook here, who I know is not showing this on everybody's timelines, which is really frustrating. So even when people want to watch this and I tell them that it's at noon Mountain Standard Time every Tuesday, people still cannot see it in their timeline, which is really, really frustrating for me. So remember, if you're watching this, I will always post this on YouTube, and I may very well switch over there and start doing these live Q&As on YouTube. But for now, this is the host. This is the home that we're doing it, the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. And it has been an awesome, awesome experience. Okay, so here we go. What have I been doing? Well, one thing over the last number of years, I think a lot of you, and I'm going to just toss this up here, a lot of you guys know that I created the Express Entry Do-It-Yourself Guide to help all those people out there who are looking for just a little bit of help, but maybe couldn't necessarily afford the legal fees of someone who is actually qualified to help them. There are tons of people all over the world that are more than willing to take your smaller amounts of money to offer you no help, and in fact, cause huge problems with your application. So I created this guide as a way to be able to give people the information they need from a source that they could trust. Well, over this it's been probably 2.5 years since I've had that guide, and I've just let it just kind of percolate. I haven't really pushed it, and at least outside of our group, I haven't. Well, that is changing. The last couple weeks, I have been frantically going through and updating all of the courses. And the profile section that's pretty easy. And I'm actually going to share my screen with you guys now. And I want to share with you what I am working on here. Let's pull it up. Okay, sharing screen. So this is what I have been working on. And I've talked with a lot of people about what's in this course, but over the years, I have been able to learn from you guys as much as you guys have been able to learn from me. And so probably the last, I don't know how many hours I put in, at least 15 hours alone, I've gone in and updated all of the course material. And I've pulled in the absolute best information from the most common questions and even some of the crazier ones, and built it all into the guide. And so all of the courses, all of the lessons here are all designed to give you exactly what you need to be able to go through the process yourself without any problems, and to avoid the pitfalls that people commonly fall into. And so I revised it. It's all new. For example, here on the work history, excuse me, in the past, there wasn't as much of a personal element to it, but now there is. And so there is, I've gone through and covered in depth just every ounce of knowledge that I have regarding all of these topics. So in this case, it's work history. And I go through the whole process of how to complete each section of the process. So when we're looking at the profile here, I'm just going to pause this. I actually go through and, as a live example, show you how to complete your own forms. But on the profile side, it's pretty easy because I can fill my own information in. I can do whatever I want. It's not an issue. And so these, on the profile side, these get updated pretty easily. But when it comes to actually trying to show you how to do the EAPR section, which is really the most important of all, it is really super hard, super difficult. And so when I'm trying to do it, I actually have to go in, and if I just jump here to, we'll take the work history section for the EAPR here. This component right here actually requires me to have to screen out, and you can see here on this example, it's a little bit small, but you can see I have to actually screen out the wonderful client who allowed me to use their actual EAPR portal. I have to screen their information out to protect confidentiality. And so it takes an unbelievable amount of time to do that painstakingly, frame by frame. But I wanted to give you guys the actual thing that you're looking at. And so over the last couple of years, Express Entry has evolved, and the format and the view of some of the sections has changed slightly. There's been some information that's been modified. Everything, generally speaking, is pretty much the same. But I worked my tail off last night and over the last couple of weeks to get this all updated and all revised so that it is the best resource for Express Entry out there. And I would wager anyone out there to come up with a better resource to help people who want to do this on their own. And so, as I've told you repeatedly over and over again, this whole process of this guide is designed to help you to know what to do yourself. And so I've gone through and updated everything here. There are some sections that no longer apply, like registering in the job bank, which I've left, the old version. I haven't updated it. But with everything else that's here, I've gone in and I've updated it. Now, ironically, after I went through the whole process and updated a bunch of the courses on the EAPR section, the site that I'm using to host it had some glitches last night. So I couldn't make the actual videos, the new updated videos live, but they are sitting there just waiting for them to sort out their issues on the inside, and then they're all going to be released. But I took all of the questions that you guys have asked me. I've learned from this EE Live Q&A, and I've built it all into here. So you guys spend just hundreds of hours scouring the internet looking for answers. Well, I've taken all of those and consolidated them all right here. I've built them actually into the process when you're completing and when you follow along. I just finished a fantastic, the last one I did last night, well, it was submitting the EAPR, which one of my clients was super happy because I got it submitted at about, well, yeah, it was about 3 a.m. in the morning here. But the document checklist, I put a ton of time painstakingly explaining and telling you exactly what your documents need to look like and pointing you to direction and resources that are available within here to help you answer some of the more difficult questions. And one of the ones that I know a lot of you have questions about that I'm actually pretty proud of and pretty excited about is this one right here, which at this stage, it's not quite live, and you can see I'm still waiting for it to be encoded. But this is a special video walkthrough that I did for you out there who are planning on listing your spouses as non-accompanying. And so I literally walk through the process of how you answer the questions and what you do to make sure that you're doing everything properly. And let's face it, with the comprehensive ranking system score going up and up and up, some of you are looking at all of your options, and especially those of you whose spouses really are not in a position to come anyways, and that's really what it comes down to, who have work obligations or family obligations and can't come right away anyways. Listing them as non-accompanying is not an issue. It doesn't create a significant burden because you're going to need to be separated anyways. So this right here was this video. Once it goes live, it's going to be awesome. Was specifically directed for this purpose. And not only this one, but built into the beginning here of the member resource section, you guys can see here, all of these issues are the main, most important sections that relate to questions members have asked me, that you guys have asked me. And so the general information, work experience, like this one here, it just says how to claim work experience. But guys, it is so much more than that. It's infused with what to do if your reference letter is not perfect, what to do if you can't get one. Then we've got sections on how to increase your language score with my good friend Chris Enders. And how do I know if I qualify? How to increase my chance of getting an ITA. This one is awesome. Like, this little title doesn't even do it justice. I go through in depth the best strategies to give yourself the best chance of success. Why some work, why some don't, and things that you need to be aware of when you're entering into one of these strategies, because often they're more long-term strategies. So all of this is, I don't know what to say, guys, other than the fact that I'm super, super proud of it. And some of you may say, oh, Mark, what's the big deal? Who cares? This isn't, there's lots of resources out there for you, and there is. And if you want to spend hundreds of hours trying to sift through sources that you're not even sure if you can trust, go for it. Like, by no means am I saying that this is the only source of information. But what I am saying is that this little guide, for the fraction of the cost that I'm going to show you guys, is worth every single penny. And you go through this and you can save yourself hundreds of hours of work. It's literally like a video game walkthrough. And some of you who like doing role-playing games where you kind of choose your own adventure, well, you can spend hundreds of hours trying to puzzle out what works, what doesn't. Not to mention the consequences of getting it wrong. But this walkthrough is literally that. I take your hand and walk you through each step of the whole process. So I think I'm officially done plugging the value of the course. I know you guys are waiting patiently, and usually everyone online that I talk to says, don't plug anything at the beginning, give information, and then at the end, bring forward whatever other products or services that you have. Well, that's fine, guys, but my whole life has been giving. This whole course is just a byproduct to all of the other free resources that are out there on the Canadian Immigration Institute and within all the previous videos and other resources that I've made available on all of my other platforms. So this is one consolidated process where you can get the information you need that is current, up to date now, as of today, which today is, what is the date today? November the 13th, 2018. And use it to safely navigate your own way through the whole process. So what do I have going here? I just posted this right here on my, and it's a little bit smaller than I anticipated here, but I posted this on our Express Entry Law, private Facebook page. And what I'm offering right now, many of you understand that I offer both a subscription service where you can just subscribe for a month at a cheaper rate, or you can get lifetime access to it. Well, I've never offered this to this point. And it's basically 40% off of my monthly subscription rate. Right here you can see the coupon code that you need to put in is EE120M 40%, which basically means we have crossed over 120,000 members of our Express Entry Law private Facebook group. This is crazy. I never ever dreamed that it would ever get that large. Now, with it being large, there's problems with it. I get a ton of spammers now. People are constantly trying to go in, and I want to thank my moderators so much for your vigilance in trying to keep the site safe from smut and pornography and other things that people are posting that keep people out who are just there to cause problems or not to be helpful. And so even though we're at 120,000, you guys have no idea how many people we actually reject. And so the group is meant to be useful. It's meant to be safe. It's meant to be a place where you can go to get the information that you need from people that you can trust. And so that's, to have 120,000 members is phenomenal. It is so exciting. And so because of that, I knew I had to do something. And obviously, I don't know what the right price is for the course. I don't. I had a person, a couple people just recently who purchased it at $497, the lifetime access, which is, in my mind, it's worth every single penny. But at the same time, sometimes you need critical mass. You need momentum. You need people to understand and how good it is. And if you go on the Canadian Immigration Institute page, I've got some recent testimonials from people who've just recently used the guide that you can see. And these are unsolicited. I don't pay them anything to do this. And so it's people who are just grateful and appreciative of the guide. And you guys need to know who you can trust and who you can't. And it's hard to trust the guy who's selling the course. But ultimately, you guys can just look at the product of what I've been doing and what I've been offering to try to determine for yourself whether something is worth it. So what I decided to do, and I'm actually going to market this globally now, no longer just to you guys, I'm going to market the course globally. Because I think we're now at a stage where it's actually worthwhile to share it with the masses. Originally, I wanted to keep it just to a private group, just for that reason, just to make sure that it would be something that people would benefit from. And the results and the response have been overwhelming. And so 120,657 members. You guys who are right now watching live are going to reap the benefits, because for the first 100 subscribers only, just the first 100, and I have my coupon code locked in at 100, I'm offering monthly subscription at 40% off. So basically what that means is if I share my screen with you and you go to the CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com, and I'll post the link here actually right in, I'm going to go back here and post it right in our comment section so that you guys have it. There it is. And YouTubers, I'll make sure it's posted in the description. But here, if you go enroll in course, you can see the lifetime access is $497. You can get that over a 6-month payment plan at $87 a month, or monthly subscription, which automatically renews until you cancel it, is $97 a month. And the reality is, you guys who are diligent, who will get in and sit and watch the videos and go through it, could probably do it in a month. But for many people, they actually want it to have access to it through the course of their express entry process, so they stay in longer. Or they subscribe and then they cancel and then they resubscribe. But this right now, guys, if you select a monthly membership and you click enroll, the first 100 people, and as soon as it lets me engage here. Oh, it's just thinking. That's why. I'm getting impatient and it's just thinking. Okay, so when you go in here, you can see that the actual, just going to flip back and forth here. Okay, I think you guys, oh, I see what's going on. Give me 1 second. I always do this. I got to close this out. Sorry. Okay, when you go in here, and I'll just jump back. So when you're on the landing page right here, and you click monthly membership, and you click enroll in course, and then we'll go back into here. And this is a little bigger image so that you guys can see it a little bit better. The code is EE120M 40%. So if I go in here and I click on add coupon, and actually I'm going to shrink this down so that it's a little bit more normal. Okay, so if I go in here and click add coupon and I type in EE120M 40% and I click apply, this becomes $58.20 a month, and that's US. And if you subscribe now and you're one of the first 100, you can stay in as long as you want at that rate. But once the first 100 are gone, they're gone. So although I've broken every single rule when it comes to social media marketing and basically advertising products online, I want you guys who are the first ones to tune in, who are watching this, and who are some of my most dedicated followers. I want you guys to have the first opportunity to do this. Okay, so once the first 100 is gone, it's gone. All right. All right. So that's it. That's the announcement. I'm super excited about this little critter right here. And if you guys had any idea, like it takes me up to an hour to do one of those lessons, because of how I have to edit every single one and making sure that it is chock full of value. So there's your last plug, EE120M 40% for the monthly access, 40% off, first 100 people. All right, enough of that. You guys that have been faithful, who have waited, who have been patient, who have been there all along, and often many of you guys are coming back over and over again. It's now time for you guys. Okay, and Paneer Islam provides a very nice emoji of having lunch. I'm glad you pointed that out, Paneer, because the reality is this is during my lunchtime, and I'm actually kind of hungry. Oh well, I'll put that off till after. Okay, so now guys is the time for you guys. Seriously, Paneer. That's awesome. Paneer's being so helpful. Okay, all right, let's move forward here, guys. And now I will take live questions from you, and I will dedicate the next, we're at 12:27, I'm going to dedicate the next 20 minutes to answering all of your live questions. So I'll try to keep track of some of these. So fire away, post them in the comment section, and I'll do my very best to answer them for all of you awesome people. Rajiv says midnight in India. Yeah, I know it is, you guys. It is. And there was a time where I considered doing the EE Live Q&A late at night, but the reality is I didn't find any more greater numbers of people attending or viewing it live when I did it at 10 o'clock at night versus when I do it at lunch. And because I'm working this into my job and trying to also keep all of my paying clients happy, I'm able to do this at my lunch hour. So every Tuesday at noon, this is what I do. Okay. I says, hi, Mark. Hello. Wow, do you guys have any questions? I'm just looking here. So you guys post your questions and I will. Okay, Ice is watching from Dubai. Hi, how are you doing? There's been, some of the most common questions that I get while I'm waiting for ones to come through come from people who have gone through the process, have searched everywhere they can, but there's just these gaps. It just isn't clear. One thing you guys all have to understand is that sometimes there is no one correct answer. Like, for example, proof of funds. Lots of people will say, well, do I need to have those funds in my bank account for a full 6 months? And the instructions from IRCC clearly stipulates that they want the bank to provide details of your bank balance for the average balance for the past 6 months. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that you have to have those funds in there for the whole time, or will something else work? What if you just sold a home and then you took those proceeds and those are your proof of funds? Those are used to establish yourself and settle in Canada. Well, the answer is there is flexibility, and officers have discretion to look at things holistically. That's what I love about immigration. And so it's your job to do the best you can to give them exactly what they want, and I always do that. But in the end, if you can't, then you have to be creative. You have to be thorough. You have to use whatever other resources you have at your disposal. And when it comes to providing proof of funds, well, what's the first question that an officer is going to ask? They're going to ask, well, where did that $20,000 Canadian come from? So if you magically have this large sum deposited in your bank, an officer is going to want to know the source of it. So if you did sell a home, then you're going to show the sale proceeds. You're going to show that the money came from the sale of the property, that it was deposited from the purchaser, and that the funds are not a loan, which is one of the main concerns they have. The funds have to be liquid. They have to be funds that are entirely yours for the purposes of settling in Canada. And so lots of people don't understand that. And then you get people online who are being very rigid and hard. Well, let me qualify that. I am rigid and I am hard. I will have every single one of my clients go to unbelievable lengths to give me exactly what IRCC is asking for. But at the end of the day, once they've done all they can, then that's where my job comes in. And I just had an awesome consult this morning with a wonderful couple in Russia, and they have a new baby they're expecting, and I'm so excited for them. And the question was, should we proceed forward or wait till the baby's born? And so I just, there's lots of options. You could proceed forward, right? And then as it's going forward, you could then add the child on after. And maybe some people say that. Maybe that's their advice, But at the end of the day, my goal is to try to do all I can to provide everything up front. And then if I can't, me as the lawyer, my job is to help you to make sure that whatever you do is still going to satisfy an officer and that there's going to be no room for any negative discretion. In other words, to refuse your application because it's deficient. All right. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So that was proof of funds. And actually, I'm going to make a note of that. POF. And when did I start talking about that? This is all for the people that are viewing it. It's really hard to watch a video for an hour and pick out when you're just waiting for one thing. So I'll say probably about 33 minutes. Okay. All right, let's see what we've got here. Okay, Miguel says, if I submit my IELTS as first language and then have a TEF, can change and put it as the first. Excuse me. Absolutely, Miguel. Until you receive an ITA, you can change anything in your profile. 100%. There's no problems at all. When you're making the change in your profile, there's a section where you go back to view your application, and then you update a section. When you click update and go in to change your language to French as your primary language, then what you have to realize is that you still have to go back in and resubmit your profile. Now, the good thing is your profile is still going to be locked in on that original date that you created it. So that's important for the purposes of getting an ITA, because if the draw is at 440 and you have 440 points, it may be that not everyone that has 440 points is going to get that ITA. Those who've had their profile in the longest are going to have the benefit. And when I give the advice, for example, to the Russian couple, they're upwards of 450 comprehensive ranking system points. So I know they're not going to have any issues getting drawn. So I'm not concerned with the timing in which their profile is going to be in the portal, because absolutely, once it's in, they're going to get an ITA on the very next draw. Well, I shouldn't say absolutely. It's possible maybe they won't, but very shortly after they will. Okay, so Miguel, for you, make sure you go in if you need to change it. If your TEF scores are higher, then awesome, switch it out, but make sure that you go back in and resubmit it, and that will lock it in. Otherwise, your profile will just stay pending. It'll show that it'll say continue. Not until you actually resubmit the portal, your profile again, will it actually be locked in. Great question. Okay, Craig McCall, just enrolled. ITA received last month, so going to really help. Thanks for all the help with these videos over the last few months, Mark. Awesome, Craig. I know you're going to love it. And as soon as Teachable, the hosting site I use, I just texted them this morning. They said, yes, it's a problem with Wistia that we use, and we're technical advisors are on it right now. And so I expect within the next day or so it should be fixed, because everybody's experiencing the problem. But I was looking forward to launching it today and showing you all the new courses and everything. But trust me, it is going to be released shortly, and it's going to be awesome. So welcome aboard, Craig. You'll get an email from me in just a little bit. All right, Robert says, watching live from Nairobi. Very cool, Robert. Welcome. Sunita. Sunita. Hi, Mark. How old should the bank reference letter be? I'm trying to get all documents prepared. Sunita, the bank letter, usually don't want it to be too old, but think about it. By the time an officer looks at your proof of funds, it could be 3 or 4 months old. The key is if you're right on the cusp and the proof of funds that you have is something that's been newly input into your account, and it's possible, like for example, you're not earning a ton of money through your income that's constantly replenishing. If that's the case over the past 6 months, then an officer is not going to be too concerned, because they know your employment income is constantly replenishing whatever you take out. If it's a standalone account that you're not using as your regular account, and the balances remain pretty consistent over those 6-month period before the letter was issued, I don't get too worked up over it. But this is a great question, Sunita, because there is no hard and fast rule. And the reason you're asking it is because it's not anywhere. The key is that an officer is going to need to believe that that money is still there. And so I like to have letters relatively new. In other words, from the time in which I submit the EAPR, I usually like to have those at least within 2 months or less. So that's kind of my guideline, but by no means is that the law. It entirely depends upon the officer who is adjudicating the application. So great question. Okay. And Sunita, because you are an awesome client of mine, any other questions, anything you need, just let me know. Okay. But thanks for joining. Okay. Jasmine says, will the job offer without an LMIA boost my CRS? No, Jasmine. And I just did this. I just did an awesome video within my course on this exact topic, covering what a job offer really is. And remember, guys, a job offer, and this is probably worthwhile to go in here. Just bear 1 minute with me here. CCEE, let's see if we can figure this out. Okay. There it is. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I'm going to teach you, because this is a good one. I'm actually going to put job offer here, and I'm going to record the time, which is about 42 minutes. Okay, so just so that you guys know, and let's see, you guys can see this. It's okay, you can see it. So a job offer that is not supported by an LMIA, there's only one exception. But when you're thinking about what is a job offer, okay, the reality is it must be, aside from all of the standard things that the Federal Skilled Worker Program requires, an employer, continuous, paid, full-time, for at least 1 year after you become a permanent resident, not seasonal, not on a contract, in a skilled occupation. All of those are standard. You're not even going to get, when it comes to eligibility for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, and the Canadian Experience class, it needs to be skilled. But here is the difference. And you can see here, there are roughly 3 bullet points. So 1, it has to be what I call a PLMIA, or a permanent LMIA. So the employer has gone in, the employer has advertise for the position in Canada. There's no Canadian or permanent resident who is willing or able to take up the position. Then the government, ESDC, then provides the employer with a labor market impact assessment confirmation that says you can then offer the job to a foreign national. Well, the first one is when you're not planning on moving right away, but the job offer is open when you arrive in Canada. The next one is if you're currently working in a NOC 0A or B position, you work for the employer listed on your work permit, you're authorized to work in Canada on the day that you apply for permanent residence, and when your visa is issued. That's an important part. And your current employer made the job offer, which I pointed to above. Okay? So that's the other one. Now, when it comes to an offer that doesn't have an LMIA associated with it, there's only one circumstance in which it works. And that is when you have a valid work permit already that is a work permit exempted from the need for a labor market impact assessment right here. And there are only certain ones that fit. Traditionally, as a business immigration lawyer, it's my intercompany transfers where a company is transferring someone into Canada, or say a NAFTA professional, which will very soon be the US-Mexico-Canada agreement, a USMCA professional. Those are work permits that you can see here, you have to be currently working for the employer specified on the work permit. So if you're in Canada on an open work permit, it doesn't work. So spouses of foreign workers, postgrad students, even if your employer says, I want to give you a job offer and you're on a postgrad work permit, it doesn't work. Your work permit needs to name that employer. You have to have also 1 year of full-time work experience or the equivalent in part-time for that employer. So an intercompany transferee has to come to Canada and have that experience already with the employer before the job offer can work for express entry. And then, of course, like all of them, the job offer from the employer has to be for at least 1 year after you get your permanent residence. And that's specifically stated in the job offer letter from the employer themselves. Okay, great question. Awesome, love it. Okay, let's see what's next here. All right, I know that these have been piling in, so I'm going to scroll back. Oh, seriously. Thanks, Edge Carpio. That's awesome. Mauricia, can you delete this Edge Carpio here? This is a perfect example of what happens when you have a group that's so successful. Okay. Chris says, Mark, congrats on reaching 120,000 plus members. You have been truly helpful and finally got myself acknowledgement of receipt. I strongly recommend anyone looking for help. Mark is the one for you. Chris, I am so happy for you. And yours was a crazy situation. Yours was definitely non-typical. But I am excited. I can't wait for when you get your acknowledgement of receipt. Well, sorry, you've got your acknowledgement of receipt. I know because I sent it to you just recently. But for you to get your confirmation of permanent residence. So awesome. Very, very cool. And you've been very patient with me as well. You're an awesome client. Okay. Chris says it's 4:30 a.m. here. Yes, it is, my friend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Okay, Ola says, I'm currently studying a master's in the UK. Please, when do I need to apply? Well, Ola, you have to assess your eligibility. You have to determine if you have enough comprehensive ranking system points right now. And if that's the case, then there's nothing delaying you from proceeding. Go for it. My course has detailed instructions on assessing eligibility, on giving tips and strategies on improving your possibilities of success if your CRS is too low, and they're detailed. I spend a lot of time, and I'll just flip over here quick to my screen and I'll just show you what's in there. So if I go back in here, let's see if I can pull it up. I'm just gonna go quick and I'll show you the course here. I'll show you what I'm referring to. So at the beginning, I'm already enrolled in this course. Yes, I am, because I own it. So the first module is all about learning the basics, and then it's preparing to submit your profile. So the top 5 things to do before you submit your profile, registering for your account, and then here's the key: are you eligible? So this is with Canadian work experience, and then lesson 7 is all for you guys outside of Canada. And so in this one right here, I go into great depths as to what you need to do to determine whether or not you're eligible. I explain how the eligibility works for the different Federal Skilled Worker Program, the CEC, and the Federal Skilled Trade. And then in my resource section, I have like I showed you before, how to increase my language score, how do I know if I qualify for express entry, how to increase my chance of getting an ITA, all of these that are just exclusively for members only, not on my YouTube channel. That's what's there for you. So hopefully that is going to be an awesome resource for you as well, Ola. All right, but it really depends. If your CRS score is there now, then go for it. All right, and then I'm gonna get rid of this one here. That's awesome. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. All right, the next one here. Okay, Miguel says, thanks so much. You're welcome. Okay, North says, can you please give a recommendation on immigration lawyer on AIPP in New Brunswick? Thanks a lot. North, you do realize that immigration is federal and that I can assist with everything. But notwithstanding that, I will give you a recommendation. And the recommendation comes from my Canadian Immigration Podcast. And this one, and I'm going to search right here, Atlantic Immigration Pilot. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys now. So this is the Canadian Immigration Podcast, which not only do all these other things, you guys can subscribe on iTunes. And so if I search Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, actually I'm going to search here, Atlantic, and then this is what comes up right here. So the best program in Canada, that's how I dub it. And guess who I invited to join me? My good, awesome friend, Janet Thompson Price. And if you are to use someone local in any of the provinces, I usually have, you can go to my Canadian Immigration Podcast and you can see very clearly who I trust and who I invite to join me on my podcast. So if we go back into here, I'm going to post the link right here for you. There's the answer, even though it's kind of a weird question. So in there's the link, and you can get Janet's contact information in there. Okay, awesome. All right, let's go back up here, and okay, I'll see where we left off. Okay, Envis says, hello, Mark. Many thanks for your wonderful videos. What are the differences between IP1 and IP2? Do you know what, Envis? This actually, that's got to be kind of freaky for you guys. Sorry. It's like the eternal image that just goes on and on and on. All right. So Envis, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create actually a video on that topic and explain how it works. Lots of people ask those questions. Personally, I don't even pay attention to it. I don't. For me, it's meaningless because there isn't a set time period to advance from IP1 to IP2 for the background checks, any of those things. There isn't a set timeline. It just depends on the officer that's adjudicating the application. It depends on the country that you come from. It depends on where you're currently resident right now. It just literally, there are so many different factors that I don't even worry about it. But I will consider doing a video on that topic and just kind of demystifying some of those areas. Okay. Rajiv says, have you listed all of the applicants' periods of military service or government positions, if any, and all of the organizations that the applicant belongs to, if any? Correct answer is not applicable or no. If I was never a part of the military security agency. That's a great question. And guess what I just finished explaining in detail in the course as I finalized my video that dealt with the statutory declaration section. It was this exact topic. So what do? Do you put not applicable or no? Well, if you answer no, my friend, then it's not going to advance because the question is, have you listed everything? If you put no, then you're not going to be able to finalize your profile, your that section within your portal, in your EAPR. You're going to list either yes, which means yes, I've listed everything. And that basically you answer yes when you have already listed a government position or an organization or the military. If you've listed one of those within your personal history, then at that stage, you're going to say, yes, I've listed everything. If you haven't listed any, then at that stage, I list not applicable because it doesn't apply because I have not been involved in any of them. Okay, so that's how you do it. All right. Mahana says, hello, Mark. If CIC requested ADR regarding PCC, how long will they give me to submit? It just depends. Sometimes they'll give you 30 days. Sometimes they'll give you longer if it's from a country they know has got problems. But I've seen crazy things where they've said to a client, you only have 7 days. So it just depends. There is no hard and fast rule, Muhannad. Okay. Shafin says, hi, Mark. If I absolutely have to take a loan for proof of funds, how do I go about explaining to the visa officer? Can my parents take a loan for proof of funds and gift me the cash in the form of a gift deed? The short answer, because I know immigration officers watch these videos, the short answer is no. You cannot take a loan to satisfy the proof of funds, even if it's a loan from your parents. Now, ultimately, you can do your very best to explain that, your parents are gifting you the money, but it gets really dicey and loans are specifically prohibited. So the short answer is you can't. It's just full stop. The funds have to be available for you to establish yourself in Canada. And if you've got the added burden of a loan and the problem of maybe not getting a job right away in Canada, there's a reason that settlement funds are required. And it's because they need to give you a buffer to get on your feet in Canada. And so if you've got a loan, it's not really giving you any kind of a buffer. In fact, you've got payments that you're going to have to make on that loan, which will be even more difficult for you to settle. And so just to clarify, Shafin, there's no circumstance where I would feel comfortable with the two options that you've presented. Okay. I says, I'm confused what knock I need to use. Should I use the knock, which is high demand, or the current experience I have, which is different knock? You have to use the knock that actually matches with a substantial number of the duties that you perform. That's how you match it up. It has nothing to do with occupations in demand. You have to select the proper knock that matches an activity that you're doing, where you can show in the knock position profile that you are performing a substantial number of the main duties and that you are performing all of the activities in the lead statement. So that's how that applies. Okay, Maud Heimark, as we have to submit all details of travel and every country visa we got in the past, so does it give any negative impact while we get evaluate free if we refuse job visa of Saudi Arabia in the past? No, that is one of the things you must list in the statutory declaration section of your personal history when you're completing your EAPR. You list every refusal, and I had discussions with previous clients about that just today. There's no harm. Because you've been refused a visa to a certain country, that immigration refusal does not impact negatively on your express entry. But what will is if you misrepresent yourself and don't disclose it, and then through background checks or security clearance or something like that, the government determines that you have not been honest and truthful. That can result in a 5-year bar from Canada and likely having extreme difficulty ever coming back or ever getting admitted. So that's what you do there. Okay, Nisha says, hi. Rena is following. Okay, Rena. Jasmine says, thumbs up, got it. Okay, Nisha says, hi, Mark. If we have submitted our profile with experience with 4 years and 1 knock, but while giving details about the previous jobs with past 10 years, do I need to have experience letters for the jobs that I'm not claiming points for? No, and in fact, Nisha, you're not going to list those jobs in your work history. You're not. You will, in the previous 10 years, list them in your personal history, but not work history. Only list the work experience that you want to claim CRS points for. Okay? Rafi says thumbs up. Rajiv says my knock is 5125 and got a reference letter from my employer Amazon and covers all the duties of 3 job titles: translator, interpreter, terminology. Is it fine? You've got to select. You have to make sure that you identify which one. So each of those, there's overlap for sure, but you have to make sure that you're matching for one of those. Okay? Okay, Rafi says, doing great, Mark. I'll contact you soon. Amir says, hi, Mark, about PNP Saskatchewan. Yes, I've got a client. I'm racing to get everything filed for them who received a request, an expression of interest through the occupation in demand category. So, yep, good old Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. Okay, last question I'm gonna cover here. Nisha says, do a secondary applicant needs to provide experience letter for the details of work history mentioned in personal details even when we're not claiming points? No. If you're a spouse accompanying your principal applicant, you're not getting any points outside of Canada. If you're working in Canada, yes. If you're outside Canada, there's no point. I have no work experience I wish to tell you about. That's what I do. Okay. All right. So we'll end there. Lots of great questions. Loved it. But guys, those who didn't get your answers, I'll be honest. the small amount that this guide is, if you act quickly and you are one of the first 100, many of the questions you have asked me here are answered and then some in the guide. I've gone through, I've created the videos, I've created everything to try to clarify as much as I possibly can. So $58.20 US per month. That's what it is. So log in. All you have to do is go to the CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com, which is listed right there. Type that in, and it will take you right there. And remember, it's the monthly subscription, and that subscription will automatically renew each month until you cancel it. So make sure you pay attention to it if you no longer need it. The last thing I want is people to be in there and then have it continue, and they don't realize it. And then they're like, oh, Mark, I didn't know. I didn't need it, or I'm already landed in Canada. That's not what I want. But before, I only had it valid for 1 month, and then the person would have to go back in and resubscribe. And when you end at the end of the month, you can lose all your information if your subscription expires. And so I didn't want that to happen to my clients who wanted to stay in for more than 1 month. And so I've set it up to automatically roll over to the next month. And that's just because of feedback I've gotten from clients. So pay attention to that. But there you go, guys. Whoever's the first 100 will take advantage of it. And I know you're going to love it. All right. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher. Wishing you guys all the best as you navigate this crazy, crazy world that we all call express entry. Take care.